Hi, my name is Dorothy Kazumbumali, an environmentalist from Malawi and a young ambassador for the Earth Project. Today I will be discussing with Professor David Crookall on the topic of marine biodiversity. But before we get into it, could you please give us a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, and where you're from?
Well, my name is David Crookall, and what I do at the moment is try and help people, usually young people, to better understand the interconnections between ocean and climate, especially climate change, because they're so interconnected. And so I run this school twice a year, which consists of a long simulation that lasts several days.
What do you think are some of the greatest challenges in promoting the fundamentals of climate change?
Well, that's a very tough question. It depends on who you're trying to promote climate, the fundamentals to. If you're talking to young kids, if you're talking to young people, if you're talking to older people, people are interested, people are not, it's very different. So what I tend to do is to get them involved in activities that involves them and engage them in actually doing things and making decisions in regard to the ocean and the climate. And that, I think, helps to get the message through, especially about the complexity of these issues and the interface with humans, because all these problems only arise because of humans. None of these problems would arise if humans weren't around.
Has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your work in any way? If so, how?
As far as the work is concerned, in a certain sense, you could say it helped, because our original school, we were going to do it in one place with everybody together. But then we decided to go online, and that enabled people from pretty well all around the world to take part.
What is our role as environmentalists in planning for a future where our oceans are impacted by an increasingly warming climate?
One single role. I think environmentalists all have different interests. The environment is such a vast domain that we all have our own particular niche interests, and it's working in those particular areas that we can best serve the planet. I think that people who are interested in climate change should be working there. The people interested in botany should be interested in helping replant areas that have been devastated. So there's no one singular role. I think the thing that we must be careful of is to be as scientific and as objective as possible. We don't have much room to be able to exaggerate the problems. And we don't really need to, because some of the problems are so huge anyway. But I think that we each have to do what we can and not feel we're forced to do something, but we choose to actually do it and know a little bit the reasons why we do.
So what are the implications of marine life as the oceans continue to warm? Can this be mitigated somehow?
I mean, we know all the problems of acidification, coral reefs disintegrating, although some of them are coming back. There's less food. So those are the sort of biophysical consequences of climate change. Can it be altered or mitigated? I'm not so sure, simply because climate change has such a devastating effect on the oceans. But we don't see it so easily because we're living on land, but we depend so much on the ocean. I think that one area that can help is having marine protected areas, but they're so small. But I think that the one thing that's really going to help the oceans and the flora and fauna living in them is bringing down CO2 so that the planet does not continue to heat up. That's the main thing that's going to help the oceans. Already, huge amounts of energy are going into the oceans. I think it's what, 95%, something like that. And we don't sort of see it so much on land. I mean, if all the energy that had gone into the oceans we had on land, we would be roasted.
What kind of policies and actions should be adopted and undertaken to adapt to and mitigate against climate change?
$1,000 question, and that's been answered by so many people. And I think that one of the dangers there is that everybody has their own solution. And there is no one single solution. I mean, you asked the question in the plural, which is really good. And it's very difficult to say which ones are better than others. And I think that only science can really provide the best answers. I think, though, that these actions need to be undertaken or need to be carried out by people collectively. And they should be carried out with care. The thing is that as time goes on, and with the climate getting worse, these actions becoming more and more urgent. I think one fundamental action, I think, two really. One is that somehow all people around the world, everybody needs to become climate literate, ocean literate. And then they need to know whom they should vote for. A lot of people vote with their feet.
And what do you think is an action someone can take today, right now, after they watch this video to help the environment?
I think the thing that one has to do is to become literate in climate change. That means going out and finding out what the science is, the basic science, finding out what different actions, what the effects are of different actions. Some actions help a lot. Some don't help very much, and people do these actions kidding themselves that it's going to help. I mean, what we've done, what we do at home is we are vegetarian. That reduces the CO2 footprint. But everybody has to do this kind of thing. So it's not just oneself doing it, it's helping other people to do it, which means working with others in associations and organizations. But I think that each of us needs to go and find out, do one's homework. And great ways to do that are enrolling in courses. And if you don't have one that's next door, you can follow a MOOC. There's lots of MOOCs about climate change and oceans on the web. They're not expensive, and on top of that you get a certificate you can put in your CV, and they're done in such a way that they really want to help you to learn and to get the certificate. It's not like at school where they're trying to filter out the baddies from the goodies, as it were. They really do want you to learn and to get the certificate. So everything's done for that. You just have to put in the work yourself. Once you learn a little bit about the science and about the options, I think then it's much easier to make choices about the kinds of actions that you might do.